On the night of August 5, 2022, a silver Honda CRV left a summer campfire gathering in the Tahoe National Forest. By morning, both the car and its driver had vanished. What followed was a 2-week search involving local police, the FBI, and hundreds of volunteers combing 800,000 acres of wilderness. Yet the answer lay just 55 feet offshore, in 14 feet of water, at the very spot authorities claimed they had already searched. This is the story of Kelly Rodney, an 18-year-old honor student whose disappearance raised questions not only about what happened that night, but about how thoroughly anyone looked for the truth. This is a real crime documentary about a case that blurs the line between tragic accident and investigative failure. A chilling true story that tests the limits of what we call closure. Before we go deeper, subscribe if you love true crime documentaries, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Kelly Rodney grew up in Truckee, California, a mountain town perched at 6,000 feet elevation along Interstate 80, halfway between Reno and Lake Tahoe. Truckee is a place where tourism and local life exist side by side, where summer brings hikers and winter brings skiers, and where teenagers grow up knowing every back road, every lake, every campsite within a 20-mile radius. Kelly's family lived what some might call an off-grid lifestyle, common in these mountain communities where self-sufficiency and distance from urban centers shape daily routines. Her parents, Lindsay and Daniel, raised her and her 8-year-old brother in a home filled with love and encouragement. By all accounts, Kelly thrived in this environment. She was cheerful, responsible, and academically driven. She had finished high school early, graduating with honors, a remarkable achievement that reflected both her intelligence and her work ethic. Her younger brother looked up to her, considered her the best person in the world. Her parents trusted her completely. That trust was not misplaced. Kelly had never given them reason to worry. She did not drink and drive. She made thoughtful decisions. She planned her life carefully. In the first week of August 2022, she was preparing to start classes at Sierra College, a community college in Rocklin, just under an hour's drive from home. The transition from high school to college is a threshold moment, a time when young people try to squeeze in one last summer of freedom before responsibilities shift. For Kelly and her friends, that meant a party. The gathering was planned for Friday, August 5th, at a campsite locals called the Sanctuary, located at Prosser Reservoir in the Tahoe National Forest. Prosser is a large man-made lake surrounded by pine trees and granite outcroppings, a popular spot for fishing, swimming, and camping. The site sits about 15 minutes from Truckee, roughly 40 minutes from Reno, straddling the California-Nevada state line. It is remote enough to feel private, but accessible enough that teenagers have used it for parties for years. The event was meant to be a small send-off, a chance for local high school graduates to celebrate before scattering to colleges and jobs. But word spread. What began as a gathering of friends became a regional event. Estimates suggest that between 200 and 300 people attended that night, many of them strangers to one another, drawn by social media posts and group chats. This was not unusual. In the age of Instagram and Snapchat, parties can balloon beyond their organizers' control within hours. What was unusual, however, was the setting. Due to wildfire risk, campfires were prohibited. The area remained dark except for glow sticks, electric candles, and the lights from car trunks. The atmosphere was both festive and shadowy, a mix of celebration and anonymity. Kelly left her home around 6 p.m. that evening. Her parents had no concerns. She was responsible. She had plans to meet her best friends the next morning at 9 a.m. She told them she would be home safely. Around the same time she left, Kelly stopped at a gas station in Truckee, roughly halfway between her house and the campsite. Surveillance footage captured her walking around the station, looking relaxed, before she got back in her car and continued driving. She arrived at Prosser around 10 p.m. with her friend Magdalene. There they met up with another friend, Sammy Smith. Over the next few hours, Kelly and Sammy spent most of their time together, drinking, talking, and occasionally mingling with others. Witnesses later described the party as chaotic but not dangerous, crowded but not violent. There were no reports of fights or medical emergencies. It seemed on the surface like a typical end-of-summer party. Around 11 p.m., Kelly and Sammy went to Kelly's silver Honda CRV to charge Kelly's phone. They sat inside the car, chatting and sipping drinks. During this conversation, Sammy asked Kelly for a ride home later that night. Kelly agreed. Around 11:30 p.m., Kelly sent a text message to her mother, Lindsay, saying she was leaving the party and heading straight home. Lindsay replied, telling her daughter to stay safe and that she loved her. Kelly responded, "Okay, I love you too." This was the last communication Lindsay received from her daughter. Between 11:30 p.m. and 12:20 a.m., something shifted. Sammy later told police that she decided Kelly was too intoxicated to drive her home and arranged for another ride. The two friends parted ways. Sammy said goodbye to Kelly at 12:25 a.m. near the CRV. At 12:36 a.m., just 11 minutes later, Sammy received a phone call from Kelly. Kelly asked about Sammy's ride. Sammy assumed Kelly was still at the party because she could hear background chatter, though she later admitted she was not entirely sure. This was the last conversation anyone reported having with Kelly Rodney. By the time Lindsay Rodney woke the next morning, Kelly was not in her room. Her car was not outside. Lindsay tried calling and texting. No response. She immediately contacted the police and reported her daughter missing. The authorities did not issue an Amber Alert. Their reasoning was that there was no evidence Kelly had been abducted or taken against her will. She was 18, legally an adult. She had left a party on her own. The initial assumption was that she might have stayed with friends, crashed somewhere to sleep off alcohol, or perhaps gotten into a minor accident. These assumptions, while reasonable on the surface, would later be questioned. The Placer County Sheriff's Office began a search. They canvassed the area around Prosser, interviewed roughly a third of the partygoers, and requested that anyone with information come forward. But many of the teenagers who attended the party were reluctant to speak. Some were about to start college. Others feared legal consequences. Drinking, drug use, and trespassing were all possibilities. Even though police assured them that no one would be charged for actions at the party, that they were solely focused on finding Kelly, most attendees remained silent. This silence became a significant obstacle. None of the more than 200 people at the party reported seeing anything unusual. No one saw Kelly drive away. No one heard a crash. No one witnessed an argument or a confrontation. The lack of information was baffling. Kelly and her car had simply vanished. Sammy Smith, as the last person to speak with Kelly, became a key figure in the investigation. She participated in multiple media interviews, describing the night in detail. She also organized a meeting with other partygoers, hoping that without police presence, people might feel more comfortable speaking. Nothing new emerged. Sammy's involvement, however, drew public scrutiny. Online sleuths noticed that Sammy and Kelly were not connected on social media, which seemed odd for people described as close friends. Sammy was, however, connected to Jagger, reportedly Kelly's ex-boyfriend. Both Sammy and Jagger began soliciting information on social media, asking people to send tips to them rather than directly to police. They claimed they would filter the information. This behavior raised suspicions. On August 11th, the Placer County Sheriff's Department issued a public statement clarifying that they had never instructed Jagger to collect witness statements or evidence. They emphasized that all information should be directed to law enforcement. The statement only intensified speculation. The search for Kelly expanded rapidly. By August 12th, authorities and volunteers were combing a 25-mile radius from Prosser, stretching as far north as Sierraville, as far east as Verde, south throughout Truckee, and west past Jackson Meadows Reservoir. The Tahoe National Forest spans over 800,000 acres, a vast and varied landscape of rugged peaks, dense forests, clear lakes, and winding rivers. Searching it thoroughly is a monumental task, yet local volunteers believed that if Kelly or her car were in the forest, they would have found her by now. At a town hall meeting the week after her disappearance, the Placer County Sheriff's Office discussed the scope of their efforts. They revealed that over 15,000 man-hours had been dedicated to the search. Helicopters, drones, ground teams, and dive teams had all been deployed. On August 12th, a search and rescue team discovered what they believed might be a possible burial site near the campground. Kelly's family was informed. The FBI, alongside the Placer and Nevada County Sheriff's offices, investigated. After further examination, authorities discovered the body of a dog. This false lead was devastating, but also telling. It showed how difficult the terrain was, how easy it was to misinterpret evidence in such a dense environment. On August 13th, police held another press conference. Public Information Officer Angela Musalam emphasized, "Let me be clear. We have one team, one mission, and one goal, and that is to find Kelly Rodney." By the 9th day of the investigation, the Placer County Sheriff's Office was pursuing 720 leads. Tips were coming in from across the country. Some were credible, others were speculation. Police reported that they had received information suggesting an adult was discouraging people from coming forward. In response, they launched a fully anonymous online platform where the public could submit photos, videos, and other relevant information. This move indicated that investigators suspected someone knew something and was actively concealing it. Meanwhile, the principle of Occam's razor hung over the case. The simplest explanation is usually the most likely. The simplest explanation here was that Kelly, after drinking, had driven off the road and crashed somewhere in the vast wilderness. But as days passed without any sign of her, that explanation seemed less plausible. What other circumstances could cause someone to vanish from a party without a trace? On August 21, 2022, 2 weeks after Kelly disappeared, a breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Adventures with Purpose, a YouTube channel specializing in underwater recoveries and cold case investigations, arrived at Prosser Reservoir. The team, led by Doug Bishop and Nick Rinn, had been asked to assist when Kelly first went missing. According to AWP, they were happy to help. When they arrived, local authorities informed them that the reservoir had already been thoroughly searched by dive teams and that nothing had been found. This assurance, as it turned out, was incorrect. At 10:40 a.m., the search began. 2 sonar-equipped boats were deployed. By 11:15 a.m., one detected an object 55 feet offshore in just 14 feet of water. Using a specialized Garmin sonar device, diver Nick Rinn entered the water and confirmed that the vehicle was Kelly Rodney's by checking the license plate. A body was later recovered from the car's cargo area. The discovery took less than 2 hours. The location was within the area that local authorities claimed to have already searched multiple times. The reaction was immediate and intense. Kelly's family was devastated. The community was shocked, and the public began asking a question that would not go away. How did a YouTube channel find Kelly's car in under 2 hours when the FBI, the Placer County Sheriff's Office, and local search and rescue teams had spent 2 weeks searching the same area? Doug Bishop from Adventures with Purpose noted that the Garmin Echo Map Ultra they used costs around $2,500, a modest investment for a police department. The technology is not classified or experimental. It is commercially available. The fact that local authorities did not use it or did not use it effectively raised questions about competence and resources. Aerial views of the area, later shared online, clearly show something in the water where the car was found. If aerial searches had been conducted, why was this missed? If Kelly had driven into the water, the car would have left tracks in the sand. How were these missed when her mother reported her missing less than 12 hours later? The timeline of events made the oversight even harder to understand. A trail camera in the area captured a car driving straight into the water at 12:32 a.m. on August 6th, the exact location where Kelly's vehicle was eventually recovered. This timestamp aligns with when her cell phone last pinged. The evidence was there from the beginning. It simply was not found. After the car was recovered, Adventures with Purpose shared details of the mission on Facebook. The team stated that they had contacted police first to coordinate their efforts. However, at a press conference the following day, a spokesperson for the sheriff's department claimed that the team had never reached out and that police had to proactively contact them. This discrepancy fueled public skepticism. Adventures with Purpose has a strong reputation for transparency and professionalism. The suggestion that they had misrepresented their communication seemed unlikely. Some speculated that local authorities were embarrassed by the oversight and sought to control the narrative. Others wondered if deeper issues were at play. The discovery of Kelly's car did not bring closure. It brought more questions. When the vehicle was pulled from the water, several details stood out. Many of the windows were rolled down. The driver's side mirror was broken off. There was a dent in the driver's door. This damage was not present when Kelly left her home. Where did it come from? Other submerged cars typically do not show such broken mirrors or dents. And most troubling of all, Kelly's body was found in the vehicle's cargo area, not in the driver's seat. This detail alone raised serious questions about what happened in the moments before and after the car entered the water. Doug Bishop expressed deep suspicion about the circumstances. He noted that Kelly was a bright student, familiar with the area, heading to college. She vanished from a large party only to be found just a few hundred yards away. There was only one entrance and exit to Prosser. Kelly knew the roads well, yet the location where her car was found required making a sharp left turn onto a rough four-wheel drive dirt path. She would have immediately realized she was off course. Why didn't she stop? Why didn't she turn around? And why, if the windows were already rolled down, didn't she escape? According to news reports and safety experts, over 400 people die each year when their cars become submerged in water. Survival depends on exiting the vehicle before it is fully underwater, often in under a minute. Experts advise rolling down the windows immediately and escaping through the front windows rather than the rear, as every second counts. The driver's window and other windows appeared to be down when the car was recovered. Yet Kelly was found in the rear of the vehicle. This does not align with typical drowning scenarios. If she had time to move to the cargo area, she had time to escape through a window. If the windows were already down, the car would have filled with water very quickly, leaving little time for her to move. The situation, as Doug Bishop noted, simply does not add up. Kelly's autopsy report was released on Thursday, October 13, 2022. Her death was officially ruled an accident. The report concluded that she had drowned. This finding surprised many, especially given the physical evidence and the inconsistencies in the investigation. When Kelly was found, she was fully clothed and showed no signs of assault. The toxicology report revealed caffeine, nicotine, and trace amounts of THC in her system. Liver tissue samples indicated the presence of alcohol, with a blood alcohol content of 0.0808, just below the legal driving limit in California, which is 0.08. However, many forensic experts suggest that these ethanol levels could result from post-mortem alcohol production, a natural process that occurs as a body decomposes, particularly in water. This raises doubts about whether Kelly was actually intoxicated at the time of her death. The autopsy report included another puzzling detail. There was no water in her lungs. The medical examiner noted that her lung weights were unusually low for someone who had supposedly drowned. Typically, drowning involves significant water in the lungs, yet here there was barely any, hardly enough to support the conclusion. This finding is critical. In forensic pathology, the absence of water in the lungs can indicate dry drowning, a condition where the larynx spasms and prevents water from entering, or it can suggest that the person was already dead or unconscious when submerged. The report did not elaborate on which scenario might apply. Detective Sonia, the lead investigator, stated that Kelly's death had to be classified as an accident due to a lack of evidence of foul play. But the absence of evidence is not the same as evidence of absence. Looking at the inconsistencies, it is reasonable to wonder whether the investigation thoroughly searched for evidence that might have told a different story. The roads in the area are poorly lit, winding, unmarked dirt paths. The conditions are challenging, even for experienced drivers. But Kelly was familiar with Prosser. She had attended parties there before. She knew the layout. The idea that she simply took a wrong turn and drove into the water strains credulity, particularly when the car was found just 55 feet offshore, in 14 feet of water, at a location visible from the shore. Some locals suggested that the town's economy, heavily dependent on tourism, might influence how crimes and accidents are reported. They noted that the chief of police and the coroner are the same person, a dual role that raises potential conflicts of interest. While there is no direct evidence of corruption or cover-up, the perception exists. In a small town where reputation matters, where winter ski resorts and summer campgrounds drive the economy, a high-profile crime could have lasting consequences. Whether this influenced the investigation is unknown. What is clear is that the investigation was marked by significant oversights. The case of Kelly Rodney exposes broader issues within criminal investigations and search and rescue operations, particularly in rural and mountainous regions. The contrast between the 15,000 man-hours spent by local authorities and the 2 hours it took adventures with purpose to locate the vehicle raises questions about training, resources, and the use of technology. Sonar equipment is not new. It has been used in underwater searches for decades. The Garmin Echo Map Ultra, the device AWP used, is commercially available and relatively affordable. The fact that local dive teams either did not have this equipment or did not use it effectively suggests a gap in resources or expertise. This is not unique to Placer County. Many sheriff's departments, particularly in rural areas, operate with limited budgets. They rely on volunteers, outdated equipment, and overworked staff. When a major search operation begins, they often call in state or federal assistance, as happened here with the FBI. But even with that support, Kelly's car was not found until a private group intervened. This raises a question: should private organizations like Adventures with Purpose play a role in criminal investigations? On one hand, their expertise and technology can be invaluable. They have solved cold cases, located missing persons, and brought closure to families. On the other hand, their involvement can complicate official investigations, create jurisdictional conflicts, and raise concerns about evidence handling. In Kelly's case, their contribution was undeniable. Without them, it is unclear when or if her car would have been found. The psychological impact on Kelly's family is immeasurable. For 2 weeks, Lindsay and Daniel Rodney lived in a state of suspended terror, not knowing whether their daughter was alive, injured, or dead. When her body was recovered, the relief of having an answer was immediately replaced by the agony of loss and the torment of unanswered questions. Why didn't police find the car sooner? Why was Kelly in the cargo area? Why was there no water in her lungs? These questions will haunt them forever. The absence of clear answers leaves a permanent void, a painful uncertainty that will never fully heal. For Kelly's friends, particularly Sammy Smith, the aftermath has been equally difficult. Sammy became a central figure in the investigation, both as a witness and as a target of public speculation. Online sleuths accused her of everything from withholding information to being directly involved in Kelly's disappearance. While no evidence supports these claims, the accusations have had lasting effects. Sammy's relationship with Jagger, Kelly's ex-boyfriend, further fueled suspicion, even though police found no evidence linking either of them to Kelly's death. This is a common dynamic in high-profile cases. In the absence of clear answers, the public looks for someone to blame. Friends, family, and acquaintances become suspects by association. Social media amplifies these accusations, often without regard for facts or fairness. For those caught in the crossfire, the damage can be devastating. The night of August 5, 2022 was meant to be a celebration, a last hurrah before the responsibilities of adulthood set in. For Kelly Rodney, it became something else entirely. The exact sequence of events between 12:25 a.m., when Sammy last saw her, and 12:32 a.m., when the trail camera captured a car entering the water, remains unknown. 7 minutes. In those 7 minutes, Kelly drove from the party site to the water's edge, made a sharp left turn onto a rough dirt path, and ended up 55 feet offshore in 14 feet of water. Whether she was alone in the car, whether she was conscious, whether she drove herself or was driven by someone else, these are questions the official investigation did not definitively answer. The autopsy's conclusion of accidental drowning rests on the assumption that Kelly, impaired by alcohol and possibly disoriented by darkness, made a tragic mistake. But the physical evidence does not fully support this. The broken side mirror and dented door suggest impact, possibly with another vehicle or object. The absence of water in her lungs suggests she may not have been breathing when submerged. The location of her body in the cargo area suggests movement after the car entered the water, or possibly before. Each of these details individually might be explained. Together they create a picture that does not fit neatly into the narrative of a simple accident. The legacy of Kelly Rodney's case is multifaceted. It serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of alcohol, of driving in remote areas, of attending large, unmonitored parties. But it also serves as a critique of investigative failures, of the limitations of small-town law enforcement, of the gaps between public expectation and official competence. It raises questions about how we search for the missing, how we determine cause of death, and how we balance the need for closure with the integrity of evidence. For the true crime community, Kelly's case has become a symbol of unanswered questions, a reminder that not every mystery is solved, not every death is fully explained, and not every official conclusion is satisfying. The involvement of Adventures with Purpose brought national attention to the case, but it also highlighted a troubling reality. Sometimes the answers are right in front of us, and we still fail to see them. The car was there from the beginning, 55 feet offshore, visible from above, detectable by sonar, captured on camera. It simply was not found. Whether this was due to incompetence, resource limitations, or something more deliberate, we may never know. Kelly Rodney was 18 years old when she died. She was intelligent, talented, and loved. She had finished high school early, was about to start college, and had a bright future ahead of her. Her death was a tragedy, made worse by the lingering uncertainty surrounding it. For her family, the official ruling of accidental drowning may provide legal closure, but it does not provide emotional closure. The questions remain, the pain endures, and the knowledge that things might have been different, that she might have been found sooner, that the investigation might have been more thorough, haunts everyone involved. This is not a story with a neat ending. It is a story that forces us to confront the limits of what we know, the failures of the systems we rely on, and the fragility of life itself. Kelly Rodney's disappearance and death remind us that even in an age of advanced technology, even with hundreds of people searching, even with the best intentions, things can still go terribly, inexplicably wrong. And sometimes the simplest explanation is not the right one. Sometimes the truth is more complicated, more troubling, and far less satisfying than we want it to be. This is the chilling true story of Kelly Rodney, a case that remains as murky as the waters that claimed her, a dark history written not in what was found, but in what was missed.